Right, hello everybody, Adam Clery here for you today, and Man City 0, Tottenham Hotspur 4. Okay, now first off, I should apologise, this one is very late. I took myself on a little holiday where I didn't look at any screens or any televisions for a couple of days. It's amazing, highly recommend doing that, but it did also mean that the first thing I saw when I came back was this score. So if you'll excuse me for a moment, I'm just going to watch that game right now, and then we'll talk about it. Hell. Right, okay, obviously I have seen the game. That was just a funny bit I was doing for you on the internet. Anyway, Manchester City here, Tottenham Hotspur here, and the one thing I have seen constantly said, written, spoken, whatever, about this match is about this lot. What's happening to Man City? What's going wrong there? Has Pep Guardiola's head fell off, etc, etc? But no, that's not what this game is about, in my opinion. It's far more interesting what Spurs did. So first things first, it was 2 4-3-3s, but executed in a very different way. And the most important thing to say is that Tottenham Hotspur, brilliant. Man City did just concede 4 goals to Sporting Lisbon, so yes, we have seen that before, but that was a very different game to this one. There, they were dominant. They probably should have been miles ahead. They got hit on the counter a couple of times, missed a penalty. It was a bit of a weird result, but this wasn't. Spurs battered them. Now, admittedly, they did take a little while, sort of 10 or 15 minutes to settle. They'd made some alterations with Maddison, 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏, getting rid of Brennan Johnson, etc. And they were doing things slightly different with their fullbacks, which we're going to get into. Man City probably should have taken the lead in that time, but they didn't. And from there, you got an absolute masterclass in what this Tottenham team is really good at. Holding a burp in for that entire bit. And in fact, what we really saw with this was why Tottenham look 10 times better against a team like Man City than they do against the rest of the league. Because what they really want to do is invite you in onto the press to get you to leave space in behind, and then they play through you so quickly and so effectively that they just get in. And thusly, if you do get successfully baited into doing the press, and then you don't match their intensity with their running, they will quite literally beat you 4-0. And, yeah, Man City did both of those things. So here's a decent example of what I mean, right? Tottenham have just recovered the ball, and they could now rush forward, try and play it up the line. They could hit long. They could try and get a bit of territory, but they can't see that opening, so they retain it. James Maddison, and this is going to be a theme of this video, begins to orchestrate things from very deep. You can see him pointing. They send it to the opposite side of the pitch. City very sort of lazily just sort of jog at it, provide half a press into that situation, and then Tottenham work it straight back to where it came from. And all they've really done here is like drag Man City around a little bit. It's gone up that end of the pitch, they've sort of jogged after it, and it's come back. It's not really anything too clever. And yet just by doing that, in this one snap move, Solanke feigns to run in behind, City's backline panic a bit, drop off, he changes direction and collects it short from Maddison playing a great brave ball through that press. Like in the space of a fraction of a second, they've gone from this situation, just gonna allow you to see how everybody is nicely marked up and there's no space, to this situation, and there is a lot of space. And what's insane about this example from a Manchester City perspective, right, is that Dominic Solanke literally falls over. He face plants the ground when he gets the ball. Like, that is a comedy pratfall. It should have one of those cartoon whoop noises, and yet, such is the lack of effort from Man City, he's able to pick himself back up, play the ball forward, and this is as close as any player gets to him in that situation. And throughout the game, there were just loads and loads of examples of situations like this, almost all involving James Maddison. Like, he was theoretically the left-sided midfielder in this 3 with Bissouma and Sarr, but if I show you Tottenham's average position map on top of all of this, you'll see it's actually not a 3. They've actually got a proper double pivot between these two, and then Maddison's just sort of here as well. And that's because he had this, like, the temptation is to say a free roll, but it's not like a free roll. Like, I'll show you his heat map, and you'll see he's popping up pretty much everywhere, but it's all really focused in this left-hand space in their own build-up, and then again in this left-hand half space when they're attacking. And while it was a fantastic performance from Maddison, what you're actually seeing here is a bit of a masterstroke from Postecoglu. Because if we just go back to the average position map and sort of divide a line, you'll see Tottenham are way more sort of focused on this side of the pitch. Like, because if Tottenham are playing with a double pivot here, you'd expect Maddison to sort of be in the 10 role, but yet he's out on this left-hand side. 𝗘𝗫𝗍𝗘, who obviously drops in off the front line, is dropping way more onto this left-hand side. And why do that? Well, because now Manchester City have to defend Son, 𝗘𝗫𝗍𝗘 and Maddison with Foden, Lewis and Walker. 3 players of which you could talk about the merits for a very, very long time, but from purely a defensive sense, not positionally great, not physically great, not particularly well disciplined. This is a situation that Ange manufactured and used it to more or less, can I say, have their pants down? Is that too old hat? Is that a bit Yadar? Because he did. But anyway, just to go back to Maddison and show you how effective he was at this system that Ange was playing, right? This is his pass map as well as his heat map. And under normal circumstances for him, you'd look at that and think, oh, he's had a shitter there. Because he's a creative player, he's a 10, he makes things happen. You want him getting into these areas of the pitch, around the box, laying on chances for the runners, for the forwards, for all of this. But that was not his job. He was to bait the press for Manchester City and allow them to play out quickly and effectively, which is why so much of his work is absurdly in this sort of deep inside left area. And that's not to say, by the way, that the secret trick to beating Manchester City is just get a player in this area, because zoom in, use that brain of yours. Look at how many of these passes are forwards. It's not enough just to have somebody circulating the ball around this area, baiting them in. The reason you have James Maddison is because he's an incredible technical player who will hit those brave forward passes between defenders. Like, this is just a stunning example of how good he is at this job. Like, look how far back he has been forced to get on the ball. Man City have got 4 players here. This actually looks, by their standards in this game, a really aggressive, well-set press. And crucially, Maddison could go back to the goalkeeper here, but you look at the options available to him, he'd have to just kick that long and they'd probably lose it. So instead, he trusts himself, he's got that confidence, he comes back into this crowded area, he wants to play out down the line. And just imagine, right, me and you were at that game together watching it, and I somehow have this ability to stop time. Obviously, this is not what I would end up using that for, but just it's hypothetical, just imagine I did that, and I said, in 16 seconds time, Spurs are going to have this ball in Manchester City's 6-yard box. Now, obviously, your first reaction to that would be to say, well, if you can stop time, Adam, then why are you aging so badly and why aren't you making more videos? Which are both absolutely fair comments. But if we got back to the football, you would then look at that and go, seems unlikely. But it does, it truly does. James Maddison takes all 3 of these players out of the equation with a quick ball through the middle of them. Ben Davies gets a little bit of luck, yes, but still plays the ball forward. And then 2 passes later, Tottenham are here. But while this does represent Ange winning a fairly major tactical battle against Guardiola, like in both the planning and the execution, he has done him a kipper. What I thought really made the difference in this match was Tottenham's players individually winning all their 1v1s. Every single Tottenham player on that pitch massively outworked their opposite number at Man City. Like, there are some absolutely mind-bending numbers doing the rounds at the minute, but these stats that I think I heard on, I'm going to say the Totally Football Show, the podcast, I think it was from there, they ran 5 kilometres more than Man City, which is a fairly substantial amount, but just sit down for this one. They made 297 more intensive runs than Manchester City, which, just taking all the outfield players as an average, is 30 more each. That's like 1 per player every 3 minutes, or collectively as a team, they did another one than Man City every, 18 seconds. And it might all just sound like just mad numbers that don't really mean anything, but you can physically see that in almost all the goals. Like, for the opener, Maddison is covered here. He is marked by Gundogan, but he just lets him go. He points at him as he runs past, and granted, it's a brilliant ball, but that's not enough. You need to match that run. You can't just point and hope the other guy will pick it up. You need to have the intensity. Likewise, the second goal, this is a really good press from Tottenham. We've seen them this season. We know they love to go and do that, but the ball is just slightly loose. And look at the body language in this still. Like, Maddison is the first one to react to that on the entire pitch. Like, I'm just going to rewind this back, right, to the point where the ball is passed, okay? So nobody knows what's going to happen yet. It's going to get picked up here. Why is that not Rico Lewis's ball? And then even for the finish on this, like, it's a great pass from Son, and it's a beautiful little dink from Maddison, but he's going to run from here to here. Like, Walker can possibly make that up if he really tries. Akanji can step across Lewis, and Stones can organise slightly better, and none of those four things happen. They all just sort of let him go. And it's every single player in this Man City squad is guilty of this. Like, go back to the first goal. That is 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗏's ball if he wants it, but he instead just decides to meekly let it roll out of play. And 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, well, no, mate, actually, I'm going to fight you for that if you don't want it. The third goal is the worst, though, because this is just a series of 50-50s in Spurs' half, and 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 wins them all. They've brought Nathan Ake on now, I presume, for this exact reason, and yet Spurs just run it up the other end of the pitch, and as it's rolled back to Porro, this is your defensive shape. This is the room you've left on the edge of the box, because you've only got this many players here. Why? Like, it's not that hard. Like, Tottenham wanted to have somebody in this space, and if we take it all the way back, Porro's, like, near his own goal. He's got to get past him and him and him and him. He's got to beat all of those with the intensity of his run, and he does. And we might as well keep going. Why not? The fourth goal. Obviously, everybody's had a really good laugh about Timo Werner roasting Kyle Walker, but is it even entirely his fault? No, it's the entire team. This is where Brennan Johnson starts the run from which he will score. 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗏 is, yes, he is behind him and he does track back, but he cannot match that intensity. And then Gundogan, look at him here. He has a little look over his shoulder. He's got a couple of yards on him. He could maybe do something about it. And he does not. There is one man in this equation who displays the most amount of intensity in his running and desire to get into this position, and it is not a man wearing a Manchester City top. Tottenham got this game absolutely spot on from a tactical perspective, but as we've said a million times on this channel, that only ever gives you the chance of winning. Their individual application, their winning of 1v1s, their wanting it more, made them beat them 4-0. Now, as for Manchester City, I may well do another video on what's going wrong there, but let's have a little quick look at the specific problems in this game. So the main cut and thrust of the previous video was that A, they're missing a lot of very big players who help them play they like to play, but also their out of possession shape is really bad. Like, theoretically, this was them. It was a 4-3-3. Gundogan sort of like the ball recycler, strong presence in the middle, and you've got sort of Lewis and Bernardo Silva and all this. But I'm just going to show you their average positions map, and I'm not joking. When I looked at this the first time, I felt genuinely upset. This is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen using this kind of data, right? This is the narrowest football team I have ever seen, with all the width coming from two players who are badly, cast in this role. Now, as I said at the beginning of this, City were actually the better side in the opening exchanges, right? And this still comes from that good spell of possession, the good as they looked in the entire game. And if we just look at this, right, this is a huge problem. Now you can see the 2-3-5 shape that we know they want to get into, that they're very, very good attacking with. But there is a reason why most teams try and get into that shape by either stepping a centre-back into the midfield or inverting a full-back. And that's because when you do it this way, this is Kyle Walker, your right-back, and this is 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏, your left-back. All the width in the entire team. Like, you know, look at this. All the width is coming from two defenders. The reason most teams never do this structure with these kinds of players is because when you lose the ball, you just then need your left back to scootle over into this position, or your centre back just to drop a couple of extra yards, not two of your defenders who are defending your entire wide areas to get all the way back down the pitch. It's too much of a ordeal. And if you start looking at the goals, you can see where those gaps are. Like, it's so easy now to get at Manchester City in these wide areas beside this build-up block because A, the defenders have got to come all the way back, and B, the personnel in here, like Lewis, Silva, Gundogan, like who there is flying 50 yards to put a tackle in? Who there is bullying an opposition central midfielder? Like, it's really, like, lightweight. Like, even Gundogan, who is the physical presence in there, who is genuinely quite good in those situations, how many times have you seen him already in this video not doing that job? Basically, right, what I'm trying to say is that for reasons I do not understand, Pep Guardiola is currently asking Vardy and Walker, or whoever plays in these wide positions, to do way too much in terms of both attacking and defending, and then not having a sort of suitable profile in the middle to cover for those gaps. Like, I'm sure in his head something about this is supposed to work, but A, I can't see it, and B, it isn't. So yes, bottom line, Tottenham were absolutely magnificent here, and you should be heaping praise upon them for this performance, but it does also feed into this whole Manchester City are in the toilet thing at the minute, and yeah. But whether you are a Tottenham fan or a Man City fan or a neutral who just likes the kind of stuff I make, please let us know what you made of this game in the comments below. I do like reading them. It's fun for me, all of that. So get analysis, thoughts, feelings, poetry, song, anything that's in your heart, just get all that out in the comments below. And of course, before you do that, God, you wouldn't forget, would you? Subscribe to 442 here on YouTube, because every time you press that button, I get the happy chemicals. You can also grab me across all of the socials at Adam Clery, Clery, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, the other one they don't like me talking about, not OnlyFans. I can see where your mind went there. The 442 socials, they are in the corner of the video. And until next time, probably Liverpool, Real Madrid, I've been Adam Clery, and I miss the sunshine. Goodbye.